Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Thitipann Kernsom. I'm a Ph.D. student majoring in multidisciplinary design research, Faculty of Architecture at King Mongkut's Institute of Technology, Ladkrabang, Bangkok, Thailand. It is my pleasure to be here today presenting you all with my work under the topic of Elements of Window Display Design Reflecting Corporate Sales Strategies, a case study on Diversified sales space department store in Bangkok. I firstly like to introduce you this picture. What seemed to arouse the curiosity of these onlookers? The answer is they are looking at window display at the shop front, which always by design attract the attention of passers-by. Window display is similar to a product wrapping as well as a magazine front cover that performs an important role in product selling strategies. We consider window display as a medium that converses with potential customers through the design elements. The objective of this study is to elucidate the differentiation of design settings in the attracting and conveying of merchandising messages to its target groups, and come with a research hypothesis. Firstly, the organization and manipulation of elements of window display design in accordance with the product type and strategic target groups are able to convey accurate product positioning, value, and quality. Secondly, the perceptual, cognitive, and affective processes of display viewers are important features which determine the extent of comprehension and differ in accordance with the target group's human attributes. This research bases from 4 major theories. Firstly, SOR paradigm is used as a basic ground for an experimental method by using 3D photographic images as stimuli for target responses. Secondly, as the widely quoted phrase of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, of Gestalt theory, explaining that design elements in good combination of composition setting affect the visual perceptions of viewers. Such settings could convey organizational images and its product lines, unique selling propositions through window display. Thirdly, design elements involve design variables such as color, lighting, materials, props, textual styles, mannequins, merchandise, display, and etc. And principles of design comprising of unity, harmony, repetition, and so on. These 2 concepts were together compounded to create stimuli used as research tools. Finally, affective and cognitive processes are rather different types of psychological responses as consumers could have toward any shopping situation. Affective process refers to feeling responses, whereas cognitive involves mental or thinking responses. Eventually, it leads to a decision to take action. Here is the conceptual framework of this study. Firstly, the stimulus to organism response theory is the basic ground for an experiment. For stimulus, it is simply said that the aim of window display should correspond to the positioning, value, and quality of products, as a department store would want the display viewers to perceive, desire, which leads to a purchasing decision. However, the findings of this study were derived from this conceptual framework that was operationalized into research variables. Therefore, the study would be further developed to create a model for an effective window display design that could convey core value of an organization, including the images of its product lines. Briefly, I would explain how this research was undertaken. Firstly, the components of window display and principles of designs were explored by content analysis. For example, color, lighting, material, and so on. Then variables determining consumer perception were determined through questionnaires. The study from these two factors, the instruments were devised in the form of 3D photographic images consisting of different design elements. In addition, the obtained instruments were used to conduct an experiment with a group of samples. Lastly, a designing procedural model would be further developed. The samples were simply drawn from the total number of the students at KMITL who were studying at the Faculty of Architecture, totaling 200 graduate students. The research tools comprised of questionnaires and 3D photographs taken at department store. 200 sets of questionnaires were launched to the target groups. Questionnaires problem into the perception and preferences of the respondents through the use of 3D photographic materials and questionnaires. From the subjective measurement, the method of psychological scaling was used. The semantic differential approach was used to inquire about the respondents' preference towards the pairs of conflicting designs given. There are altogether 24 pairs of photographs, but only those impacting the target groups would be shown today. Here is the first and most critical design element, that is color. Color is the first impression that could attract the target customers. There are two major tones used, warm and cool. Warm color is represented by orange. Red and cool color are represented in green, blue, as shown here in the slide. From the content analysis on design elements, lighting becomes the second most important factor affecting the mood and feeling of the target customers. There are two types of lighting selected and used in this study, which were accent and general lighting. The use of design principle is one of the ways we could directly communicate with the target customers. We set up stimuli for small items, for instance, jewelry and accessories using different backgrounds. Complexity of background and foreground are compounded together. First pair shows a clear graphic presenter and blurred graphic one, while second pair uses the same graphic presenter, but one of which adds messages on the front and the other does not. The background style, there were the backgrounds of textual and presenter photos. Another indicator affecting the customer's preferences is a photo used. There are two sizes of photos, large and small. Here is the material used as design elements. For materials, it could be divided into two types, simple and artificial. What's more, merchandising display also has an impact and could be classified into two types, a single brand merchandise and assorted one. The dramatic element in window display is props, providing mood and creating story for the target customers. There were altogether 4 levels of the quantity of props used in this study. The first one is with props, high and low level use of props, and also without props. And this is the in-store visibility, which also affects the customer's preferences. Mannequins are representatives of humans communicating to customers. As they look at the mannequins, they could easily imagine themselves wearing the display products. There are various methods to display, such as realistic, contemporary, abstract, and so on. The quantity in using mannequins to display affects also to a certain extent towards the preference of the target customers. Having frame and width are also somewhat important. Large and small window sizes were inquired also in order to probe into the opinions of the respondents. And here, these are just examples of 3D photographs created to be stimuli. The respondents were asked to rate or compare the 3D photographs on a subjective criterion. There are two pictorial images on the left and right-hand sides. They were asked to choose a number based on their preferences. As I explained earlier, that this study focused on the two major subjective factors, affective and cognitive and consumer's mind. For affective, focus can be operationalized into questions concerning complexity, interest, arousal, and attractiveness. There are 5 cognitive factors, also product differentiation, product test, price range, product value, and product worthiness. After the pic is shown to the respondents, they would have to rate the level of preference on the differentiation and test of products. These two factors convey the product positioning, and also the same method was undertaken with the price range, product value, and worthiness, as the value of products could be derived from price range and value, while the quality of products from its worthiness perceived by the respondents. So the factors defined in affective and cognitive processes lead to desires of purchasing a product and visiting a shop. Ladies and gentlemen, from the experiment conducted, I am proud to present you the findings. There were altogether 11 points relatively used with 3D photographic and questionnaires to measure 24 pairs of factors totaling 48 images. Only 12 images could convey merchandising messages to its target groups, as shown in the orange color text, as you can see in the slide. From 3D photographic as well as stimuli factors, it is shown that some factors could convey product messages clearly and attract the target customers to visit a shop eventually, which are accent lighting, presenter as background, text on the window display, without frame display with props, and large window size. The symbols below represented affective and cognitive factors, for example, complexity, and so on. As you can see that these 11 factors were positioned in more or less the same cluster, it means that accent lighting is significant to take into consideration. Likewise, in this same cluster from number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in order to make it clear, let's look at the example. Accent lighting affects people in the sense that they felt excited and interested toward the product display. In addition, it also conveys a differentiation test of products. These factors finally lead to desire to visit a shop and purchase a product. These are distinctive factors that I have to take into account for my further research. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, design of window display could reflect organizational images, in this case a department store, the positioning, value, and quality of product corresponding to affective and cognitive processes. All the factors obtained from an experimental study, it could be concluded that the factors would be potentially used in developing a model for effective window display design in general, and particularly for the corporate strategic merchandising of large-scale department store. Thank you.